Hey, hello, how do you do everyone? StarryZ here, and today we are talking about Bloodrend. That's right, Bloodrend has officially been out for a few days now, and yeah, I know this isn't like Sunday and Mario playing Deepwoken video, but hey, Holotide's out, I'm in a very Deepwoken mood, so I'm gonna upload Deepwoken videos. If you're not here for my Deepwoken videos, don't worry, I'm gonna be uploading more videos later on, but that's besides the point. Anyways, Bloodrend. Now, I will admit, I fell for the rage bait. Alright, I'm big enough of a man to admit that. It is a little funny, actually, how easily I fell for that rage bait. Oh, Jesus Christ. But that's besides the point. We got Bloodrend, and it is a fun attunement. It is very combo-based, which is something I'm a bit iffy on in terms of Deepwoken combat. Hell, it's why I hate PvP and why I find Gale to be absolutely annoying. And since we don't have blood armor in the game, yeah, it's pretty annoying to fight Bloodrend Voidwalkers, so be careful out there if you hear a Voidwalker. Honestly, I'd recommend just immediately leaving the game. It is not worth taking a risk. Take it from me. I don't really have any footage of getting ganked by a Bloodrend Voidwalker, but you know. However, this is not about the PvP potential of Bloodrend. I feel like that's very obvious if you use Bloodrend. It is very PvP oriented. We're here to talk about the PvE side of things, because let's be real, I do a lot more PvE, I talk a lot more about PvE, and I absolutely love PvE. That doesn't say I can't make up concepts for PvP, like literally, next video y'all are in for a treat. It's a concept video, but anyways, back to Bloodrend. So, is Bloodrend PvE viable? It depends. Okay, so for humanoid NPCs, like, you know, actual NPCs like bandits, authority guards, Duke, is perfectly viable, because most of the talent revolves around block breaking your opponent, or hitting your opponent with infected blood, which I'll get into in a second. I know what y'all are probably saying, but I'll get into it in a second. Don't worry. But yeah, it has a lot of block breaking potential, so when fighting like Duke and actual NPCs, enforcers, it has a lot of potential. It has a lot it can do really well, and the damage can be really high, especially when you use those talents it has. And also Alloy Blood is pretty cool, so it gets style points there. As for everything else, Chaser, Etheron, Megalodons, everything else, like big bags you're going to be fighting in PvE, there's one slight issue. Its main mechanic of blood poisoning doesn't seem to affect mobs. Yep, you heard it here, folks. Every single NPC, Duke, bandits, all of that, do not get infected blood in them. They do not get blood poisoning, meaning you cannot proc your abilities on NPCs. Which, if you don't know, is kinda bad. Now, obviously you can proc some, like that one talent that lets you boost your next blood mantra by using a critical when standing in blood. You know, that can still work. However, every single talent that involves blood poisoning and the natural benefits of blood poisoning, like enemies dealing less damage to you, or whatever all of it is. I'm not even sure what all of it is. I kind of forgot. All of that is null and void. So, in PvE potential, you're not going to be able to proc the main purpose of Bloodrend. So, sorry all PvE enjoyers, this probably isn't going to be the attunement for you. You're not going to be 2-cycling or 3-cycling Chaser. Like, you remember when I made the military video, I 2-cycled Chaser. Well, the footage is playing right now. I have no idea how long this is going to be, but it's going to be sped up from like here on out to how long it took me to beat Chaser. You know, like, what I'd consider to be debatably the easiest enemy to 2-cycle, maybe 3 or 4-cycle if you have the right attunement, right combos, right levels, right everything. Easiest to do that with. And, like, okay, listen. The fact that NPCs cannot get blood poisoning is kinda sucky, because this is one of the only attunements where the actual main element, the actual element itself, its main effect, its main ability does not affect mobs. Now obviously, Shadow kinda does this, but at least it benefits you. You still drain Aether and gain Aether. Even if you're not draining the opponent's Aether, you're still gaining Aether. For Bloodrend, you don't really have any positives, only just the fact that you're placing blood puddles. Like, opponents do not get infected blood, so that means you aren't going to be proccing any specific abilities that require your opponents to have blood poisoning, or the passive benefits of having high blood poisoning. Just will not affect them. Now, maybe it does. Maybe it could. However, the talent that actively shows that doesn't seem to affect mobs. So that probably means because enemies do not have blood bars, they cannot get infected with, well, blood poisoning. And a simple fact of that is just allow enemies to get blood poisoning in some way, shape, or form. Like an invisible blood bar that does not drain and just allows them to, well, get poisoned? Poisoned blood? I don't know. It's just, there's a fix here that I'm a bit too dumb to figure out, so I'm just throwing out concepts. Anyways, back to like the main topic. Is Bloodrend PvE viable? Ish. It has the mantras, it has the ability to multi-hit, and on humanoid NPCs it is amazing. However, because it doesn't have a path that gives it like an alternate playstyle that could relieve it of this downside in PvE scenarios, and also just the fact that the opponent cannot be hit with blood poisoning, no burst damage like you'd get with the Glass Dancer, Crystallization, no talents like Impale, which allows you to do lots of burst damage upon landing multiple mantras, none of that. Literally, you just have the mantras themselves. Like, I'm pretty sure I beat Chaser faster with fire than I have with blood. And the mantras were level 5, by the way, so they were dealing a lot of damage. It's just like, it's not enough to be viable in PvE. Could it do great against Etheron? I mean, maybe. But I usually like to test on how well an attunement does against monsters and all that with Chaser. Because it's Chaser, he's down for a least amount of time, it allows you to test how much burst damage you can do in a short amount of time. Which is why I found out, oh, hey, Ice and Metal, these are pretty good. This allows you to kill Chaser pretty fast. So yeah, Bloodrend in PvE scenarios, not the best. I even tried duoing it with Metal. Like, it doesn't make that much of a difference, because it's just like Metal is still dealing most of the damage. Just, for PvE scenarios, Bloodrend isn't that good unless you're fighting specifically humanoid NPCs and NPCs that can get block broken. Now, if there was a path in the future which changed how the infected blood worked, or simply let you deal some form of a burst of damage with your attunements, with your mantras, even if it's a duo path with like flame or ice or just something. Honestly, I prefer something other than flame to get another path. Like, I don't know, a blood ice, that actually sounds pretty cool. If it had something, literally anything that allows it to deal burst damage, I would consider it. I would say this is probably worth using. But because it doesn't have that, and because most of the stuff is based around, oh, placing puddles, using your puddles, building up blood poisoning, all of that, I cannot full-heartedly recommend this to PvE players. It's a fun attunement, and I would recommend playing with it, but it's just like, it's not the best, and it's not even that good in PvE scenarios. I mean, it's still a mantra, so it still can be usable. However, if you're going specifically a PvE build, specifically PvE blood build, you are not going to get much out of it. It is much better to just simply go ice or metal. Maybe even fire. I have no idea how good fire is in PvE, but just, you know, hell, even Shadow, just because Shadow Seekers itself is better in PvE scenarios than the entirety of Bloodrend. And that says a lot. Anyways, this video is about to reach 10 minutes, so I'm just going to end it here. Thank you so much for watching if you made it to the end. If you did enjoy, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing the video, and, you know, commenting down below, telling me, hey, what should I do better, what video should I make, and I'll probably make it. Just keep in mind, I'm probably going to be making videos that are talking about stuff. And no, before you ask, I'm not going to make a video dedicated to Holotide until the new content comes out. Simply because, well, it's Holotide from last year, there's not a lot to really talk about. this is basically my Holotide Week 1 video talking about Bloodrend. However, next video, as I said earlier, y'all are in for a treat. Next video, we're going to be talking about domains. And don't worry, I'm not going to take the cheap route and just, like, use specifically Jujutsu Kaisen and, like, make, like, every single domain I talk about Jujutsu Kaisen reference. Yeah, that's about it. Y'all have a good one. I'll see you next time. Peace.